In our All-Star Roundtable this week, Brian Rothenberg, Executive Director of Progress Ohio, and Republican strategist Terry Casey. We did see what appeared to be a thawing of the ice on Capitol Hill this week. Richard Cordray finally confirmed after 2 years heading the agency. Do you think that this is a sign that maybe the partisan bickering is going to lessen a little bit?
Well, if we didn't have trillion-dollar-plus deficits, debates over IRS and snooping and all the other problems, including with Obamacare, it might be different. But the big issues where people are sharply divided on are still there. Those haven't gone away.
Well, you know, I mean, I actually think, yeah, we're starting to get there. But I think it's for a different reason. I mean, I think you hear rhetoric about Obamacare and stuff. Those things are pretty much settled. I think what happened is public opinion about Congress is at such an all-time low that I think it puts tremendous pressure on leaders in the Senate to try to compromise. The House is different, though.
But you know what? Harry Reid was interviewed last week on Meet the Press, and he had some interesting statistics. And among the things he said was that North Korea is now more popular than Congress. And during the Ronald Reagan administration, there were 2 filibusters. During the administration of Barack Obama, there have been 420. So do you think instead of maybe a lessening of the contentious relationship, that this is a sign that maybe there were fears that the rules were going to change and that the public just wasn't going to take this anymore?
Well, some of those numbers, I mean, to say we had 400 filibusters, the only one I can remember that was a real filibuster was Rand Paul raising questions about the drone kills of American citizens. We've had a lot of
true filibuster.
Right. We've had a lot of threats. I might have a filibuster, and I think Harry Reid mismanaged things in terms of how he was doing things. But we've got a long ways to go, and part of the problem, the issues are still real. And contrary to what Brian said, Obamacare is not settled because the president doubled back on himself to take away the mandate on business, and now others are saying, well, why don't we take away the other mandates?
Terry, this is exactly the problem that we have in Congress, is like you have to pivot back to that talking point. You got to bring up that point that's some kind of partisan gridlock. Look, I would have liked to have seen filibusters go away on appointment processes for non-lifetime appointments, and that would be, other than judges, pretty much, it would be the non-lifetime ones.
Like Richard Cordray.
Like Richard
Cordray.
Cordray.
The Labor Secretary.
That's correct, and like cabinet secretaries, I think there needs to be a vote. I think the Senate needs oversight. I think a simple majority is fine, but I think the American people elect a president, and they expect that president to be able to get work done. And I think that I would have liked to have seen the filibuster actually go away. But I do think that the threat of it and the unpopularity of Congress helped this happen. Where it's a real problem, though, that isn't going to get rid of the gridlock is in the United States House because of gerrymandering across the country, because of the way that Citizens United has worked. That's an entrenched institution. Those two bodies are never going to see eye to eye. The Senate can compromise. Those folks represent whole states, not individual fiefdoms.
And the other thing is that they have to run every 2 years. So essentially, members of the House are continually running for re-election. And so does that not also maybe give the public time to look at them and look at the job they're doing more frequently?
Well, but I would argue the House is actually closer to the people because they have to run every 2 years. And remember, the Republicans wouldn't be in control of the U.S. House if the American people across America were not in 2010 so upset about Obamacare and some of the other things that Congress ran through. And I'd also suggest it'd be nice if the president, like Ronald Reagan, when he worked with Democrat Tip O'Neill when he was Speaker, that the president would actually, rather than once or twice in a lifetime play golf with the Speaker and other Republicans, he'd actually talk to them and listen and hear some of their concerns.
You must have like a talking point with Obamacare on it today. I just haven't figured this out.
No talking points, no scripts. I'm just reacting to what's true and what the Democrats are failing to do from the president.
You know, I put that question to Senator Brown in this program just a few minutes ago. I asked him about the Obamacare, the change at the last minute, that there was a delay put on a major key platform of Obamacare, and he said that's just a small percentage of Obamacare. The rest of it's moving forward, and states like Ohio are going to be seeing it in place, and he predicts within 5 years we will view it as Medicare, as an accepted elected and working part of government.
Well, if it actually would save money as promised, the difficulty is, yes, the president said on Friday there were a couple little cases where they were saving some money, but by the time you get into next year and people see the totality of the increases in health care,
you mean like in New York
costs,
where they announced it's going to be 50% cheaper today? Did you see that?
That was the one exception to the rule.
The one exception? No, California came out with a study the same way. I mean, come on.
Well, but
the
there's 48 other
this
states.
is the problem in Congress
two.
is we keep revisiting battles from the past instead of trying to come up and move forward and make things work in this country.
Well, let's also look forward to 2014 and the gubernatorial election, because it really has kicked off. It seems to me early. I know, Terry, you say that, you know, it's always this early around, but Ed Fitzgerald, especially with, we now know Richard Cordray will not be coming back to run for governor. He's entrenched in his new job in Washington. And Ed Fitzgerald is the presumptive nominee. He seems to have a clear path forward, so we've got the tickets apparently set. And it looks as if we're going to be talking about the war on women and some other key talking points that are already emerging over and over again.
Well, as they say, wait a minute, my friend. The reason why Fitzgerald wants to talk about other issues is because he has no plans for jobs or economic different than what this governor's doing. He doesn't want to say, I'm going to take you back to the days of Ted Strickland when we had 400,000 people unemployed and when Ohio's rainy day fund was down to 89 cents.
You know,
so Fitzgerald, he has to do something else because the other issues he normally use and people are concerned about, he has no answers.
So the fascinating thing, Terry, is, you know, just this week, just on Thursday, the Cleveland Plain Dealer reported that the most jobs lost in the country, I think it was the second most jobs lost in the country, entire country other than Tennessee, were Ohio in June. And not only that, but Ohio's trailed the national average. It's only had 0.3% growth all year. The jobs aren't there. The miracle's not there. You can talk about it all you want. Where are the jobs, Terry?
Well, if you look at President Obama's Department of Labor statistics, they show Ohio previously had been significantly above the national level. Now we're significantly below the level. We're doing much better than the nation. Those aren't my figures.
So when it does well, it's John Case
numbers.
Well,
so
the unemployment numbers, right.
Okay.
We're significantly below the national level, and if it's all to Obama's credit, why hasn't the whole nation improved? The reason Ohio is doing better because this governor's done some things to change.
But the numbers actually show they haven't been the last 12 months. And you know, this sleight of hand where we blame, you know, the one minute we say it's Barack Obama's fault if it's convenient for us, and then it's the governor's fault if they're better, or vice versa. It's got to stop. The problem here is we got to create more jobs. Look, there's a war on women.
Fitzgerald has no solutions.
This election started when the budget happened. It started because of the decisions he made, which really attacked a lot of women's rights in the state of Ohio. It started with some of the privacy concerns and the secrecy concerns that were going on with development deals, not only locally, Jobs Ohio, the mini Jobs Ohio piece, but major Jobs Ohio pieces. It started with the fact that this governor has been ineffective in getting Medicaid expansion there. I mean, there are crocodile tears. He's saying, I'm going to do something. He's not gotten his Republican majority to actually pass Medicaid expansion, which may have to go to the ballot, and I'll be the first to pass petitions on that. I mean, Terry, and now you're seeing that over the last 12 months we haven't had job growth, and in June we had the second weakest job performance in the country. We got to start concentrating on real jobs, not rhetoric.
Well, if you'd actually look at the Quinnipiac, the most recent polling independently done in Ohio, people give a lot more credit for Ohio's improving economy, and they believe it's improving in Ohio, to John Kasich than they do Barack Obama. That's not my opinion. That's what independent polling shows, that things are getting better. And yes, Mr. Fitzgerald has to start and campaign early because the guy is pretty much unknown outside of the Cleveland area. And here's a guy wanting to be governor, and his last two jobs, he's never even completed the term or really got the things done, all of them that he promised. So it's nice that he's running for governor, but it'd be nice if he'd first complete the job as county executive.
He's completing the job. He's finishing his term, and he's not running for re-election, first of all, and secondly, he was mayor of Lakewood
for 3 years, and then he was off running for county auditor, and he was against reform, then he was for it. I mean, Mr. Fitzgerald's an ultimate flip-flop machine.
And Brian, we're going to give you the last word because we're almost out of time.
I think the divisiveness has to stop. I think we have a real job problem in Ohio, and I think polling aside, people are going to start to figure that out over the next year. And this is a serious discussion, a real serious discussion over the next year.
All right, we thank both of you for being with us, and we will be right back.
The most experienced, award-winning weather team in Central Ohio. NBC4, here for you.